everybody, and welcome back. Season 2, episode 3. Here we are. But before we begin speaking about some very fun things, I would just like to acknowledge the land on which we are recording today, which is Gadigal land.
It is indeed honouring the ancestors.
So, fun little episode for you today, guys. We have a great topic.
We do.
We have our 3 regular segments, but just to spice it up a little bit. Last episode was the language episode, and we finished it off with a cute little calling card.
Yes.
Little call to action, which was send in your words for your private parts, for your sexual playtime. Anyway, I just thought I'd read some of them out.
Oh yes, please do.
Funny.
Please do. Yes.
Number 1, very very common, just Fanny.
Oh, Fanny.
Yeah, love
Fanny
that
and
one.
Willie. They're actually the words that I used for you two when you were little.
Yeah.
You 3. God, how many children do I have?
Another word is junk.
Junk. Ah, yes.
Not my favorite.
No, junk. Junk doesn't really sound like a positive thing, does it?
No. Bit gross. Anyway, another package. Package. Yes.
Yes, my package.
I like that one.
Package is not bad.
It's a
Reminds
bit
me, I don't know why.
mysterious.
Phallus. I like phallus.
Lady bits.
Lady bits are fine.
Fine. Very fine.
Yep, not a bad one. Sometimes I say, some things are a little bit vague. We refer to our bits, but, if we say lady bits, it's kind of like we're owning them, or our womanly bits.
Kitty.
Kitty. Kitty's nice. Some people find pussy has become a little bit crude,
Yeah.
whereas maybe kitty is.
Yeah. Gentle. Coochie.
Coochie-coo. Come play with my coochie-coo. My coochie-coo is ready for you. Yep, that one works for me.
Punani.
Ah, punani. Yeah, that's a common one. Punani.
One-eyed monster.
The one-eyed monster. Look, I'm all for bringing in some levity to your sexual play. And if one-eyed monster works for you, I like to think of it less of a monster, more of my one-eyed lover. My one-eyed member. Here's one from a client, honeypot. And this is interesting because this client came to one of my women's retreats where I encouraged the women to come up with some cool names for their genitalia. And she came up with honeypot. And then I found out later she was seeking a partner. And so she decided that she wanted to attract the bees to a honeypot. So she actually went on the Bumble dating app because the symbol is
Bumblebee.
the bee.
Yeah, nice.
And attracted a very nice bumblebee to her honeypot. And they've been together for many years since.
Well, I love that.
Yeah, the two of them came to one of my couples retreats, and it was some years after that. And I think she called it the Honeypot Project. Yeah.
It was all the buzz.
It was all the buzz. Yeah. I really love it when I hear these great stories, often some years later. Can I tell you my favourite ever?
Yes, of course.
Sorry, I'm going
At your leisure.
completely off topic and throwing in something that we weren't planning to do at all, but just talking about hearing clients, stories later on, because, I see people, I work with them for a while and then they disappear. I don't know what happens next.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was one time I was working with this couple and the guy had delayed ejaculation. So that means he was having trouble ejaculating, right? Yeah. And they were at a point in their life where they wanted to conceive. So they worked with me and he overcame the problem that he was having. And some years later, he sent me an email saying that they'd had a baby daughter.
Oh.
And guess what they'd named her? Jacqueline.
Aww.
Isn't that? I've never been so touched in my life. Yeah, because they said that little baby Jacqueline would not have come into existence if it wasn't for sex therapist Jacqueline. So they've named it.
Nice.
So somewhere out there is she might even be a teenager now. Like this was some years ago. Yeah, but there's, Anyway.
That's beautiful.
It's a nice story, isn't it? It's these kind of things that keep me going, because sometimes you just don't know what happens next.
Yeah, the return of investment.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a story,
one.
and you only get to do the first few chapters, and you're like, well, what happens next?
Yeah.
But
I heard that therapists are one of the only professions where you don't want someone to come back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you want them to not need to come back. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, another tangent.
But before we get into it, Gorge.
Yes.
What was your erotic moment of this week?
So I was sitting out in my courtyard. And this time I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting. Very nice. I'm getting better at actually doing absolutely nothing.
No.
Other than just being there. I'm very good at doing it when I'm meditating, but in terms of like just sitting there, not reading. And Liz appeared. And Ard appeared. And I was so still that they didn't seem to realize that I was there. And so they were doing their lizardy things.
Mm.
Yeah. So one of them was on the edge of a pond and dipping its little face in.
Yeah.
And the other one was just scurrying across the ground. It's just a really beautiful, relaxing, erotic, connected moment.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah. What about you, my darling?
Well, mine is logistical in nature because I've recently quit my job, which means that I have way more time than I used to have. And so the erotic moment is just me being like, this time that I have, what should I do with it? So it's not necessarily the activity. It's just the sitting down being like, okay, what do I want to do now?
Yes.
And it's led to a variety of different things, but it's nice to have that point of like, how am I doing? Where do I want to go?
You could come and look at my lizards.
I could sit very still and watch Liz and Hard.
But we actually had quite a nice moment like that just recently, didn't we? When we were both sitting and having a chat about this, in fact.
Anyway, today we're talking about a fundamental Jacqueline Hellyer concept, everyone.
Drum roll.
And it's the idea of intimacy thermostat.
Indeed.
So please take it away.
Take it away, over to me. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so coming back to the very fundamentals of why do we have sex? Primarily it is to connect through pleasure, right? So think about having a thermostat of connection, right? Each of you, right? And this is particularly applies to partnered people, right? So if you think that each of you has a thermostat of connection, right? We're 0 degrees, and this is Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So for those of you that don't know Celsius, 0 degrees is freezing point. And that's when you're feeling very disconnected. It might be because you're busy, you're at work or whatever, and partner's not on your mind. And then 100 degrees, which is boiling point, is in the throes of fabulous sexual connection, unity, oneness, pleasure, passion, like just greatness, right?
Yeah.
100 degrees.
Best sex you've ever had.
Yes. Now, the very important point to remember is that you do not want to get physically intimate and certainly not genitally intimate until you are at least at 70 degrees. You need to be simmering.
Yeah.
If you are not simmering, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're not ready physiologically. You're not ready emotionally. You're not ready spiritually. You're not ready relationally.
Yeah. And I feel like colloquially people say, how horny are you? When what they actually mean is, where are you at on the thermostat of connection?
Which, coming back to our language concept from the last episode, it's just different language, isn't it? Yeah?
Yeah, but this is also way more holistic. Just are you feeling horny?
Yeah. And a lot of people that I've worked with, they like this concept too, because you can be a little bit playful with I'm only at 60, or oh God, I'm at 25,
Yeah.
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 Because the point is that there are things that make you feel more connected. Sometimes I call them things that make you feel, like there's, I'm liking it. Like there's a moving towards.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good feeling.
Yeah.
And generally more in touch with that life force. So it's also things that you do for yourself, not just stuff that you do with your partner. Feeling more connected, more vibing with my partner. You can think of those as enhancers. And then there are the detractors. So those are the things that make you kind of move away. They're sort of the little disappointments, the little neglects, the little annoyances, right? So ideally what you're wanting to do as a couple is to get more of the going in your life and remove the
Well, not even as a couple, just as an individual as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how does one get to know their thermostat?
Yeah, very good question there.
Yeah.
So what I tend to say is that the lower temperatures are more of the logistical parts of life. If you've listened to our earlier episode from season 1, where I was talking about the tripod,
Yeah.
and how a good relationship has 3 legs, the teammates in the logistics, friends, and lovers. Yeah. So the lower temperatures are more of the teammates in the logistics of life.
Yeah. So if you've ever wondered why sharing the chores helps you with your sex life.
Yeah. It gets you higher up the thermostat, right? Because when you're managing all the life matters, which for so many people takes up a big part of our life and probably is the main difference between sex as a single person and sex as a partnered person, is if you're a partnered person, you're living together, you're sharing a lot of logistics there, right? And it gets in the way. So you need to do that well. You need to feel like teammates. You need to feel like we're in it together, we're equal, we feel respected, acknowledged, appreciated. All of those kind of qualities are really fundamental.
Yeah.
Right? But they'll only get you so far.
Yeah. Like, for example, if my partner makes the bed in the morning, whew, that's kind of hot.
But it doesn't get you to 70.
No, that'll get me to like 10 to 15, maybe even 20.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I had some clients I've just started working with recently, in the last session they had, the guy was, because the woman's just gone back to working full time after having time off with a baby. And now he's, home with the bub. And, he was getting frustrated because they weren't having sex and it got worse since she went back to work, understandably. So, they were talking about, he needs to do more around the house, not just look after the baby, right? There's a lot more to do. He's kind of like, well, like I'm looking after the baby, and I'm doing some more work but still not, she still doesn't seem to be interested. And I'm like, but she's like, no, it's really good. Like I'm feeling so much more connected to you. Like,
yeah.
And then she was like, but you just go like after we've had dinner, you go and put the baby down, you go straight to the bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are you?
Yeah.
And she's like, I need a little bit of downtime. I need to kind of relax a little bit. And I'd really like to connect with you. I just don't want you just waiting in bed for me to sort of somehow just miraculously get in the mood and wanting to come up and jump your bones.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a really nice example of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the middle temperatures that are really important as well. And that's more of the friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah? Can you be lovers if you can't be friends? Right? So, yeah, it's all well and good to, have a tidy house and feel like, everything's under control and the bub's asleep. But then what?
Yeah, it's not just like kids asleep, I'm horny.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, maybe for some people, but probably because you're already doing the right things. So you've got to find those spaces in your life where you can connect as friends.
Yeah.
Where you can actually just enjoy each other's company. Because if you think back to the early days before you lived together, right, in that honeymoon period where everything was so easy and la, 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 it was all friendship. Like it was all spending quality time together, enjoying each other's company. And that's what enabled the arousal and the desire to get sexual.
Yeah.
So with the thermostat, so yes, it's really important that you're managing, all that lower temperature stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So that you're in a space where you can kind of like, now, darling, hello, how are you? Right. Which, if you're in that phase of life where, like there's kids and babies and all that sort of busyness, it can be hard to find that time. But even people who don't have kids or later in life, like if you need to be able to come together and enjoy each other, have a nice chat, go for a walk. Like a lot of my clients have found things like, just walking the dog together because you can have a nice chat. Sitting down together after the kids have gone down or hanging out at the dinner table a bit longer while they go off and do their homework, hopefully.
Yeah.
As well as date nights and all that sort of stuff is really important as well. But it's also really important just to find those and there might just be moments, have a meaningful hug. Smile at each other as you pass in the corridor.
Yeah.
Right? And what I really want you to do is pay attention to, well, what are those things, often small things, that make you go, oh, yeah, I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like making the bed.
Like making the bed.
Yeah. Another one for me.
Fun and handsome.
cooking me food.
Ah, God, that's one of mine as well.
I hate cooking.
I actually like cooking, but
I love eating.
being cooked for. Yeah.
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 Especially because I've got dietary requirements. It's like special, extra special.
Yeah. And some of these ordinary things you can make even more special and more connecting. Like if one person's cooking, like if I'm cooking, for instance, I really like it if, my partner's there like chatting to me or, helping out or vice versa. Yeah, if he's the one cooking, then I like to kind of be there, part of it. And, then it becomes more of a joint experience. For example, might not work for you, but it's just an example.
So it's almost like you need to have the logistical side of your life sorted out to get to like the 2025s. And then you need to have the friendship side to actually feel connected enough to engage in some sort of sexual play to get to the like 50s. And then you could start getting a little more
amorous,
targeted. Yeah.
Playful.
Yes.
Depending on what sort of mood you're in, what kind of language you want to use. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't touch until you're at least 70. No touching. No body to body touch.
Yeah.
Unless it's, well, you can touch. It's not no body to body touch. It's just like don't engage sexually until you're at 70.
Yeah. And how do you know if you're at 70? It's because you're actually wanting it.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why it's so important to be embodied and to be feeling, that inner GPS that I've talked about, that guidance thing. Where am I at? What am I feeling like in this moment? You're not racing ahead. You're not racing over 70 degrees.
Yeah.
Because, we've just had a kiss, so therefore I should be ready. No, I'm just having this nice kiss and I'm at sort of like, 65.
67.3.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yes. Right. But there's another really important point that I want to make here as well. Is you can't have one person at 70 degrees and the other one isn't.
Yeah.
Because very often I hear, partners say, well, I'm always at 70 degrees. Just give me the word and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, look, that's missing the relational element, right? You both need to be at 70 degrees.
Yeah.
It's about connection.
Yeah.
One person might already have a lot of blood in their genitals. One person might just have a freer approach to sex and, doesn't need a lot, right? One person might just, be able to get there readily, right? But if your partner isn't there yet or just generally needs more to be able to be in that space, that's just who they are.
Yeah.
Right? You both need to be there. And the kind of things that one might need and the other one might not need as much, they're really cool connecting things. Right? So it's not like, oh God, I've got to do these things for you. No, you are doing these things for us.
Yeah, totally. Like my partner is very happy if I'm happy, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So like I'm much more particular about like mood and aesthetic vibe and stuff. So I'll like spend sometimes a very long time picking the music,
Yeah.
or whatever. And he's just like, yeah, amazing. Love it. Because what he likes is seeing me comfortable and happy.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. Yeah. So he's like happy to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's actually not that much different than if you're having a nice meal together, then like add a few little extra things to make the quality of the experience better.
Yeah. You want sauce? I don't. You want salt? Extra salt? I don't need it.
Yeah. But, like putting some nice music on in the background of having a nice meal.
Yeah.
Like it just augments the experience. Yeah. Like putting out some nice plates and sitting at the table, not sitting in front of the television it enhances the experience. It enhances the connection. And it's the same with sex. Like put a little bit more effort in. It's great for both of you, even if one person is like, well, I don't need it.
Yeah.
So?
But also there's times where you will need it and there's times where you won't need it.
Yeah.
So the thermostat, it's not like an equation
No.
of how to get to intercourse.
No.
Yeah.
No. And since that I really like the non-linear approach to lovemaking, I don't want this to be like some sort of linear process, like we're at this point and they're at this point. It's more just to give you a little bit more of a guide, like just to sort of be able to express where your inner GPS is at to some extent. And also to give yourself permission that you don't have to get there quickly. or just because one person, thinks they're ready, relationally we're not ready. And therefore, we're at where we're at and we need to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
Mm. Which if I can make another point.
Yeah.
Right. So those middle temperatures as well, which I sometimes refer to as friendship, but those spaces are also spaces where we might need time for ourselves.
I see.
Right? Where sometimes it's downtime for ourselves, a little bit of me time, because one thing that often gets in the way of people being able to get to the higher temperatures of connection is just they need some time for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And any sort of,
Recenter.
busy working parent will know because, we hear women say this a lot, but I hear it from the men as well, like go, go, go all day and then dealing with the kids and blah, blah, blah. Like often at the end of the day, you just like a little bit of me time. Right? And that's okay. But maybe you go off and have your own me time and then they'll meet you in the bedroom in like, say, an hour and, and then have a nice connection.
Yeah.
Because you're going non-linear, right?
Yeah.
So even once you get to 70 degrees and you're feeling like, oh, actually, I do feel like maybe engaging in something a little bit more erotic with you, it's non-linear. It doesn't mean you have to get the genitals together.
Yeah.
You can, but
And
there's no expectation.
It's also, I like that because it like reinforces that it's you bringing your true self to your partner. So you need to be connected to yourself in order to do that.
Yes.
And it kind of doesn't make sense because you would assume that you need to be connected to yourself first, but you won't be able to be connected to yourself if you don't have all of your like anxieties and stresses and logistics sorted out. That's why it comes after that. So it can, that's at least what I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get a lot of clients and they're like, oh, why aren't we having sex? Oh, this is terrible. I'm like, the reason you're not having sex is because you're too far down on the thermostat.
Yeah.
Like it's just not possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to change your attitude, your lifestyle. You need to do things differently because so many people that I meet are setting up their lifestyle to not have sex. Like, I'm kind of like, well, if that's your lifestyle, then it's pretty obvious why you're not having sex. You're not going to be able to have sex.
Yeah.
At least anything quality and mutual and desirable given your current circumstances.
Yeah. Sex positive lifestyle. Because ideally, you want to be living a turned on life.
Ooh.
Which we will get into in part 2.
Oh, part 2. Yeah. Oh, that's the next episode, isn't it? Living in the simmer zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because ideally you do want to be living in that turned on lifestyle. So that you're always at least like what, 30 to 40%?
At least.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. You don't want your minimum to go too low.
Yeah.
Because if you're just living at like 10 degrees all the time, like getting to 70 is such a leap. It's like this chasm that you've got to get across.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got life, and then suddenly, whoa, sex. Whoa, where's that coming from? Whoa.
Yeah.
No, I can't leap that chasm.
Yeah, but we'll get into that in part 2.
Yes.
Get ready for.
Yes. Today's mostly about just getting your head around this concept that there is a thermostat and there are different levels of connection.
Yeah, and there's enhancers and detractors.
Yeah.
There's an oven and there's a fridge. You want to go into the oven.
Well, yes, you definitely don't want to.
There's also a freezer. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. And I know. Some people I meet are sort of like, the universal zero. What's that one? I don't know. Like, it's just so frozen. Tundra. I did have a client once say to me, I think I'm tundra.
Babe, I think I am cans.
Cans, are you? Well, that's kind of nice.
And I did just say that because my partner's from Cairns. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Of which, people who aren't Australian, is actually far north in the tropics. So it's pretty hot up there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it would probably be a bit too hot for me to want to have sex. I mean, I like hot, but Anyway, getting beside the point. So look, again, it's just a concept.
Yeah.
It's just a concept. It's a metaphor for you to be able to, talk about things with your partner and.
It's so fun just to be like, so, where are you at, baby?
Yeah.
What can I do to warm you up?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you need? Where am I at?
Yeah.
And really, and I can't stress enough that the relational element about this, because that's what I think is missing so much in general discussion around sexuality and stuff, particularly for people in partnerships. It's kind of like this expectation or this idea that, like, arousal comes from nowhere, like interest in sex comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
And so if you're, not feeling like it or not finding it easy to get there, oh, what's wrong with me? And I'm kind of like, no, let's just have a look at your thermostat. Like, what's going on in your life that's keeping you lower down and making it harder for you to get, up into the simmer zone. So I want to give you a little bit of homework, lover listeners, right? And I want you to pay attention in your everyday life to what makes you feel, yes, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling better within myself. So this applies for single people as well. Making me feel more, allowing a little bit more of that life force energy to flow and to feel a connection with your partner. And it can be like tiny little things, the way they look at you, the fact that maybe they just touch you as they walk past.
They made the bed.
They made the bed, or, when you come home, they greet you with a beautiful hug, all sorts of things. They make you a nice cup of tea and go, hey, let's have a nice little chat. Invite you to come on the walk with the dog. There's all sorts of things that make you go, oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And equally, there are things that make you go, oh, well, that was an omission, or, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Right? Get clearer on what those things are and start sharing them in a really positive way, right? Keeping in mind that if you're sharing a detractor, try and share it in a more, the fact that you didn't greet me when I come home, I'm just kind of thinking it would be really nice if you did, and share the why. It would just be a lovely opportunity for connection and just make me feel, oh my God, I'm back home again.
Yeah.
Right? Share the why.
Rather than like, you were on your phone when I came home. That's not how you show respect.
Yes. Less of the you and more of the, what I would like? What would make me feel more connected? What would get me further up the thermostat? Yeah. Because, and particularly, in these busy modern lives we lead, so much of this is small stuff.
Yeah.
So much of it is tiny. A good relationship is built on the sum of lots of small positives and is destroyed on the sum of lots of small negatives. It's mostly small stuff.
Yeah, and it's all of them like piling on top of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why I love the thermostat analogy. Because you can kind of see that it's sort of more this.
And it's also fun because you can like be like, that's hot.
It's not. But this would be.
That's really hot.
Yeah.
That's slightly room temperature.
That's tepid.
That's ambient.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little chilly, but that's okay because, we're just kind of doing this.
Someone turn up the heating in here, Dad.
Yeah, but I think it also gives you permission to know that there are times when it's okay not to be feeling like up for it as well. Like, hey, we're in the middle of a spring clean. Like, that's not going to be, amorous time.
Yeah.
But, maybe when we're finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Concept explained.
Jacqueline Hellyer. Lesson over.
Yes. Over to you, my darling. What's next?
Question time.
Oh, God. Still on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I am the expert here.
My mum is a sex therapist.
Yes, that's me. Okay, all right. But you know what? I just get these questions thrown at me with no preparation. I don't know what's coming.
Yeah. So the one that I chose today links both our previous episode and this episode, I think.
Okay.
And that is when me and my partner are having sex, he uses baby voice. And it really turns me on. How do I bring it up?
Yes. Yes, that's a good one. Actually, I get this quite often clinically where couples both or maybe one of them uses baby talk. Right? Now, look, generally this comes from awkwardness. Like often we use kind of like awkward, oh, darling, and baby, like then that little voice can often come because we're feeling awkward, right? But also sometimes some people just think that's what they need to do, right? Some people aren't even aware. And very often people aren't aware that what they're doing isn't actually a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Your partner, he might actually be thinking that he's being kind of sexy or that he's making her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Or maybe no one's ever pointed out that isn't sexy. Maybe He might have had a previous partner who did like it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I actually have a couple at the moment who I'm working with, and they actually like that sort of baby talk. Because I noticed in session that when we started talking on more sort of overtly sexual topics, they both would sort of drop into this kind of baby language kind of way of being.
Yeah.
And I did gently point it out to them. We had a good talk about it, and it turned out that they actually were quite fine with it.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't a problem for them.
Yeah, it
right?
works for me sometimes.
Yeah, like maybe there's
Depending.
a place for it, right? But if it is bothering you, then you need to bring it to your partner's attention.
Yeah.
Right, sweetheart. Look, you know how sometimes you use those terms or your voice goes up a pitch? It's not the sexiest. I really, you've got this nice, deep, manly voice, and I'd like to hear that nice, deep, manly voice. So when you go up, I miss out on that lovely erotic element of you, for example.
Yeah.
Right? So again, I cannot stress it enough. You have to first identify what it is about that's bothering you. So rather than just going, I don't like it when you talk like that.
Yeah.
That's not really giving the person any information.
Yeah. That's
Right?
just making them feel like a problem.
Yeah, making them feel inadequate or failure or pissed off or whatever, right? So, and I'll use the example I just brought up. If you're noticing that what you don't like about the fact that he's using a baby voice is that you actually like the deeper masculine voice, that you find that sexy, right? So you need to kind of go inwards. What is it that's bothering me about this?
Yeah.
And you can't just go, oh, I don't like it when you talk in a baby voice. It's not sexy, right? What is it about that? Actually, when you talk in your normal voice, sweetheart, it's just got that lovely kind of bass register, which I find very sexy.
Yeah.
And that's the way I'd like you to talk to him. And then be prepared for him to have to take it on board. He might have some questions. He might find it difficult to do, right? Very often, and I might be going a little bit too deeply here, but very often some of the things that we do sexually are protecting us. And it's even possible that maybe he feels that his masculine sexuality is too much for a woman, because a lot of men do grow up feeling like they're too much sexually. So they'll do things to tone down their masculinity, or what they think of as their masculinity, to try and be safer for their partner, all at a subconscious level. So instead of coming in with a hello, darling, and how about it, and I'm liking you, it's kind of like, oh, shall we have some playtime? Hello, let's go and make, goodly dum-dums in the bedroom. At a very unconscious level, might be him trying to protect you from him and his, masculine sexuality. Yeah. So there's sometimes things like that underlying the way that we're engaging.
Yeah. Which is actually nice.
Well, yes. Yeah. A lot of our dysfunctions are there just to protect ourselves or to protect our partner.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like calling them dysfunctions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the way that I work is not that, this is all terrible and problematic. It's like, hey, what's going on? What are you feeling? Where's this coming from? And when there's two of you there, like, and what's that interaction? How's that interaction playing out in a helpful or an unhelpful way?
Yeah.
Right? So in this case, the baby language is unhelpful for this couple dynamic.
Yeah, it's a detractor on the thermostat.
It is indeed.
So what is
the enhancer?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why you got to know yourself. You got to know your partner, so you can come together with those two things in your context that you've created. Have some fun. And those are probably the only three consistently the same things about having sex. Everything else changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The you and the me and the us.
Yeah.
And what's going on in that moment? Yes.
Yeah.
So, are we done for today?
Yeah, we are. But if you want more of us, you can find us on social media at My Mum's Sex Therapist, both Instagram and TikTok. I'm trying hard on TikTok, so please support me on that, please.
Yeah, just love us, whatever your favorite socials are. Just love us there.
Yeah.
Yep. Come to the Jacqueline Hellyer YouTube, where you can see these as videos. What are they called? Vodcasts. Oh my God, I'm getting up with the lingo. Isn't that amazing? Yes. Or you can come straight to my website, which is just jacquelinehellyer.com, or my Instagram, which is jacqueline.hellyer.
Yeah.
Yep. Lots of good stuff.
And until next time.
Yeah.
I hope you love your life.
Love life, lovers.
Bye.